Welcome to my channel. Antique Coin Story Today videos is one you won't miss. We're diving into the world of coins, so let's get it started. The 1965 United States quarter dollar, inscribed with the familiar phrases "Liberty," "In God We Trust," "United States of America," and "E Pluribus Unum," marks one of the most historically important years in American coinage. This quarter represents the beginning of a major shift in U.S. monetary policy when the nation transitioned away from using silver in circulating coins. Prior to 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, but severe silver shortages, rising bullion prices, and hoarding by the public created a crisis that forced the U.S. Treasury and U.S. Mint to redesign the composition of several coins. As a result, the 1965 quarter became the first year of the modern clad quarter, made not of silver but of a sandwich-like structure consisting of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. This change was significant enough that even today, 1965 stands out as a landmark date in the history of U.S. currency. The obverse front of the coin features a portrait of George Washington, originally designed by sculptor John Flanagan and used on quarters since 1932. Washington is shown facing left, with the word "Liberty" arching prominently above his head and the motto "In God We Trust" positioned to his left. At the bottom of the coin rests the year 1965, simple yet historically important because it marks the exact point where silver coinage ended for circulation. Washington's profile design was based on a bust by Jean-Antoine Houdon, created in 1785, and has been a focal point of the quarter for decades. Although the design may seem familiar to modern collectors, the 1965 issue carries additional historical weight due to its connection with America's decision to save silver for other critical uses during a period of economic strain. The reverse back of the coin showcases a classic heraldic eagle, another work of John Flanagan, which was used from 1932 to 1998. The eagle is perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing American military readiness, and below the arrows sits an olive branch, representing peace. Above the eagle, stretching across the top rim, are the words "United States of America." Just below this is a motto, "E Pluribus Unum," a Latin phrase meaning "out of many, one," signifying unity among the states. At the bottom of the reverse is a denomination quarter dollar. The strong imagery of the eagle combined with symbols of war and peace reflect America's historical values and governmental identity. One fascinating aspect of the 1965 quarter is that none of these coins contain mint marks, regardless of where they were produced. This was intentional. Mint officials worried that if the public could identify which mint still struck silver coins versus clad coins, hoarding would worsen. So, for a few years, beginning with 1965, mint marks were removed entirely. Whether a quarter came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it bore no mint mark whatsoever. This lack of mint mark adds uniqueness to the 1965 issue and helps explain why collectors today must rely on coin characteristics, not mint marks, to identify rare varieties or experimental strikes. While most 1965 quarters are common, one of the most famous and valuable U.S. coin errors ever discovered is the 1965 silver quarter, struck by accident on a leftover 90% silver planchet from a previous year, 1964. These transitional errors occurred because silver blanks remained in the minting machinery even after production switched to copper-nickel clad. A genuine silver 1965 quarter weighs 6.25 grams, compared to the standard 5.67 grams of the clad version. These rare silver errors can sell for thousands of dollars depending on condition, making them one of the most sought-after modern U.S. quarter varieties. Many collectors weigh their 1,965 quarters in hopes of finding this legendary mistake. In addition to silver transitional errors, 1965 quarters come with several notable minting anomalies such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double-die errors, and missing clad layer errors caused during the early experimentation with a new metal composition. Because the mint was still adjusting machinery to strike the new harder copper-nickel material, many early clad quarters show weak strikes, uneven rims, or surface imperfections. Errors from the 1965 to 1967 period are often more dramatic than errors from other years because the minting technology needed time to adapt to this new coinage system. Historically, The Coinage Act of 1965 not only altered the composition of quarters, but also halted the production of proof sets and collector sets for 3 years. Instead, the Mint issued special mint sets, SMS, from 1965 to 1967. These sets contain coins with a satin-like finish, sharper details, and a generally more refined appearance, but they are not quite proof coins. The 1965 SMS quarter is especially popular among collectors for its beautiful finish and occasional cameo contrast. High-quality SMS coins, particularly those graded at the highest levels, can command significant value. Collectors also appreciate the 1965 quarter for its educational value. It represents a turning point when America faced economic pressure and moved toward the modern clad coinage system still used today. For students, historians, and numismatists, this date serves as a reminder of how national policies influence even the smallest objects like pocket change. Millions of these coins circulated across the country, carrying with them a story about resource conservation, economic strategy, and national adaptation during times of financial stress. Even though billions of 1965 quarters were minted, the date remains a cornerstone in the study of modern numismatics. Every standard 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, a reeded edge, and contains a total composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. Despite their abundance, collectors still search for high-grade mint state examples because heavy circulation caused most 1965 quarters to become worn, scratched, and dull over time. Finding a sharply struck, fully lustrous 1965 quarter with clean surfaces is surprisingly rare, making such coins valued among grading enthusiasts. In summary, the 1965 United States quarter dollar is far more than a common piece of pocket change. It is a symbol of a major national transition, an icon of American design, and a critical numismatic milestone marking the end of silver coinage for everyday use. With its historical significance, famous rare errors, experimental minting process, and role in shaping modern U.S. money, the 1965 quarter continues to capture the interest of collectors around the world. It stands as a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking coin can carry a rich and powerful story about a changing nation, its economy, and its people. Top 2, the 1988 United States quarter dollar, carrying the familiar inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, Liberty, and In God We Trust, is part of the long-standing Washington quarter series that has circulated across the country for generations. By 1988, the Washington quarter had already been in production for 56 years since its first release in 1932, originally designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The 1988 quarter represents a continuation of the country's modern clad coinage system, and even though it appears common at a glance, it carries an important place in the numismatic timeline due to its transitional position just before America shifted to special commemorative and statehood quarter designs in the late 1990s. This coin reflects the stable identity of American money during the 1980s, representing consistency, national symbolism, and the daily economic life of millions of Americans. On the obverse front of the 1988 quarter, we see the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. Washington's profile faces left, with fine engravings that outline his hair, tied at the back with colonial ribbon. Above his head, the word Liberty stretches across the rim, emphasizing the nation's foundational value. To the left of the portrait is the phrase, In God We Trust, the national motto used on all U.S. coinage. At the bottom is the date 1988, indicating the year of minting. On some 1988 quarters, depending on the mint, there will be a mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail. A P indicates the Philadelphia Mint, a D represents the Denver Mint, and an S, when found, identifies San Francisco's proof coinage. These mint marks help collectors determine where the coin originated and contribute to numismatic importance, especially when considering rarity, condition, and errors. The reverse back of the coin displays a traditional heraldic eagle, another element of John Flanagan's original 1932 design. The eagle, wings spread majestically, stands upon a bundle of arrows, symbolizing America's readiness to defend itself. Beneath those arrows lies an olive branch, a representation of peace that balances a symbol of strength above it. Together, these elements illustrate the dual nature of America's role as both a protector and a peace-seeking nation. Above the eagle curve the words United States of America, while below that appears the historic motto E pluribus unum, which translates to out of many, one, expressing the unity of the states. At the bottom rim is a denomination quarter dollar, marking the coin's face value and placement in the U.S. coin system. The design, simplicity, strength, and historical roots have made it one of the most recognizable reverse designs in American coinage. The 1988 quarter is made of a modern clad composition, a three-layer sandwich of metals introduced in 1965 after silver was removed from circulating quarters. The outer layers consist of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its silvery appearance, while the inner core is pure copper. This structure results in a total composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge consisting of 119 to 120 tiny grooves. This copper-nickel clad composition was adopted to reduce production cost and preserve the nation's silver reserves during decades of financial and industrial growth. By 1988, the clad system had proven extremely durable, and millions of these coins circulated daily in commerce across the United States. One of the notable aspects of the 1988 quarter is its place in the minting landscape of the late 1980s, a time when the U.S. Mint were producing extremely large numbers of coins to support the expanding economy. The Philadelphia Mint, P, and Denver Mint, D, struck hundreds of millions of quarters that year, ensuring that 1988 quarters became a common find in circulation. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint, S, produced special proof coins, created for collectors using highly polished dies and specially prepared planchets. These proof 1988 S quarters have mirror-like surfaces and deep frost in the raised details, creating a stunning cameo contrast prized by numismatists. Their limited mintage makes them more valuable than the circulating types, especially in perfect graded condition. Although the 1988 quarter is generally common, it has several interesting error varieties and minting anomalies that collectors seek. Examples include off-center strikes, broad strikes, double-struck coins, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, often appearing on the eagle's wings or Washington's hair, and weak strikes caused by worn dies. A small but collectible error is a struck-through variety, where foreign material, such as grease, fabric, or metal shavings, accidentally get between the die and the blank during striking, creating unusual imperfections. Some 1988 quarters also exhibit die deterioration doubling, a form of machine doubling that can make certain letters or details look slightly doubled. While these are usually not extremely valuable, they are still interesting finds that add character to the 1988 issue. Condition plays a major role in the collector value of a 1988 quarter. Most circulated examples are worn, with flattened hair details, dull surfaces, and worn eagle feathers due to heavy use in everyday transactions. As a result, finding a perfectly preserved mint state, MS 1988 quarter with strong luster no contact marks is more difficult than it seems. Coins graded MS-66 and above are scarce and can be worth more because they represent the finest surviving examples of a heavily circulated issue. 4 proof coins, though showing deep cameo contrast on both sides, are especially valuable. The 1988 quarter also belongs to the final years before the massive redesign of the U.S. quarter program. In 1999, the Mint launched a 50-state quarters program, changing the reverse design every few months. Because of this, all quarters made just before 1999, including the 1988 issue, represent the last years of the classic eagle design that had existed largely unchanged since 1932. Numismatists see coins from this period as the end of an era, marking the conclusion of a long-running design chapter in U.S. history. The 1988 quarter stands as a snapshot of late 20th century American life, representing stable coinage, consistent design, and the everyday monetary experience of millions of people. Beyond its numismatic importance, the 1988 quarter is a piece of American culture. It passed through countless hands, used for parking meters, payphones, arcade machines, vending machines, toll booths, and everyday purchases. Every scratch and mark on a circulated 1988 quarter tells a small piece of its journey across U.S. cities, highways, and communities. Many of these coins travel for decades before being collected, dropped, saved, lost, and rediscovered. Even though it may seem small and ordinary, the 1988 quarter carries a story of the American economy, craftsmanship, and heritage. In conclusion, the 1988 United States quarter dollar is more than just a common coin. It is a product of American history, a reflection of national identity, and a representation of the mint's craftsmanship and evolution. Its detailed obverse and reverse designs, copper-nickel clad composition, minting varieties, error possibilities, proof additions, and place in the timeline before major design changes make it meaningful.